develop your use of the caged system to work with chords, it's probably a good idea to orientate yourself first just to major chords. At first glance, this seems easy because, after all, the naming of the shapes in the caged system is based on major chords. C in the word caged comes from the basic open C chord shape. We just take the root note pattern out of that to give us the octave. A in the word caged comes from the open A chord. Again, we just take the root note pattern out of that. And G in the word caged comes from the open G chord. And again, we just take the root note pattern out of that, and so on. But once we move away from the familiar territory of the first 3 frets of the guitar, strange things can start to happen as we lose the use of the open strings in our chord shapes. So a C-shaped E-flat chord, for example, can't just be played by moving the C shape up the fretboard like this, because we've left these 2 open string notes behind us as we've moved up. And to include those strings in a movable chord shape is quite awkward, as it requires either a C-shaped bar chord, which is quite awkward playing the C with these weaker 3 fingers, or as a 4-string chord you can use this stretched out option with the first finger on the G string there, but again that's pretty hard to grab in a hurry, even though I can quite like the sound of it. So generally, as we think of playing movable shapes for each of the cage system patterns, we tend to think of paring our chords down to just 3 strings. And one of the effects of this process is to bring to light previously unseen connections between the different chord shapes. For example, if I play C here in the open position, but focus in on just the top 3 strings, then I can effectively play it with just 1 finger like that. But if I then want to slide that chord up the fretboard to make a C sharp, I have to bring these 2 notes with me. So I have to finger those, and at that point I realise I'm really fingering a D shape. So all this time there's been this D shape hidden inside this C chord. But because it was made up of these 2 open strings that didn't need to be fingered, it was hidden from view. A similar thing occurs with the G shape, which is probably the first chord most of us ever learn. It's very familiar. But how long does it take most of us to spot the hidden A shape within the G chord? Again, the use of unfingered open strings within the chord shapes keeps this hidden. But as soon as we play this as a movable chord shape, quite awkward one at that, this A shape is clearly visible within the 6-string movable G chord shape. To avoid confusion, it helps to always keep some awareness of how any shape you play relates to the underlying cage system octave patterns. So if I play a D shape like this, either frame it inside the D part of the cage system, in which case the octave pattern is there, linked to the D string, you'll notice, D shape, D string. Or I can frame it as part of the C-shaped octave pattern by using this shape linked to the B string. So you could imagine, if you like, a C shape there, and there's the octave pattern with the what looks like a D shape linked to the back of it there. A quick aside here. All the other shapes in the cage system can be linked to the open string of the same name. By that I mean the A-shape pattern links to the A string. The G-shaped pattern links to the G string. The E-shaped pattern links to both the E strings. And the D-shaped pattern, as we've just seen, links to the D string. But poor old C is the odd one out, because there isn't a C string. But if we look at it from the opposite point of view, we can also say that each open string has a cage system pattern associated with it, except for the B string. So the B string and the C shape are like two single people at a party otherwise made up of couples. What else can they do but pair up together? So whenever we're discussing the cage system, we think of the second string on the guitar as being the C string. And you'll find that that works perfectly well as a usable concept, even if it does sound a bit weird. So when you're using these shapes that are common to more than one part of the cage system, like that D shape and A shape that we demonstrated earlier, you'll find that what you play immediately before or after using that shape and what fingering that causes you to use generally defines which part of the cage system you're working in. For example, if I play a lick like this, I'm using that A-shaped D chord, and I'm working with my third finger on the shape, and the rest of the fingers are playing this part of the lick behind that finger. So I'm clearly working inside the A-shaped octave pattern. But if I put my first finger there and play something like this, then I'm clearly this side of it. And you could see that that is more inside the G-shaped part of the octave pattern. Similarly, for a D shape, there's a D-shaped G chord. If I play a lick, something like then I'm sort of working behind the pattern, so I would tend to think of that as living inside that octave pattern. Whereas if I play a lick like this, I'm definitely this side of the pattern and clearly inside the C shape part of the octave of the cage system. In the next lesson, we'll look at how your music theory knowledge can help you use these basic major chord shapes as starter units to work out other chord types in each of the 5 cage system positions. If you found this little lesson interesting, please click on the like button if there is one, or leave a comment, and do feel free to share the video with your friends. And if you'd like to gain full access to all our guitar teaching materials, please visit the Secret Guitar Teacher site and take a free look round at what's available there. See you again soon.